What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. It's Monday. It's time to recap those Sunday games. We had a lot of stuff happen, a lot of breakouts, a lot of people that scored a ton of fantasy points that we didn't necessarily expect. Taysom Hill, we looking at you, buddy. But hey, look, if you haven't got the win yet in your fantasy football league, you're looking to try and secure a win, I'm rooting for you here tonight. If you maybe didn't get the win, maybe it looks like it's all grim, there's nothing left to do, I do want to show you that you can still win here on Monday Night Football if you do sign up using code LeagueFFB over on Underdog, because they are giving a free pick for Monday Night Football for CJ Stroud. CJ needs 1 yard for you to win here on Monday Night Football, so hopefully you guys can still go get a W. Like I said, you have to get League FFB as the code to use when you sign up. You have to be a new customer. You get up to $1,000 in bonus cash as well, but you get that free pick'em from CJ Stroud. Now, if you're looking for some things to pair that with because you want to build a little bit of a pick'em slip and you want to get a lot of money in this one, I think some potential plays that I would be pairing with this one is the higher on Nico Collins receiving yards. His line right now over there is at 73.5 receiving yards. I like the higher on that one. I also like the higher on the receiving yardage of Rico Dowdle. They've said that they're going to use Rico Dowdle a little bit more, so you pair those two with this CJ Stroud, I think you can win here on Monday Night Football. So just wanted to let you guys know about that one. Now, speaking of some wins, I need CJ Stroud to do bad to win in your Idiot League Mates, but there's another team that also won, and that is my Minnesota Vikings. As you guys know, we start with the Minnesota Vikings first and foremost because it's my favorite team, and hey, why the hell not? So Minnesota, they win this one 23-13. They are now 8-2, with the Tennessee Titans falling to 2-8. Sam Darnold had a better day. Wasn't as bad as last week. It's 20 for 32, 246. 2 touchdowns. Jalen Naylor dropped a touchdown in this one, so it could have been even more. Aaron Jones, he goes out there 15 for 39, not a great day. Cam Akers 10 for 25, being worked in a little bit more. And Sam Darnold running around 8 for 18 with a rushing touchdown as well. And then receiving-wise, for the Minnesota Vikings, a little bit of a tougher matchup receiving, but Justin Jefferson still goes out there 6 for 81, doesn't get the touchdown. Jordan Addison is the guy who gets into the end zone that day. Cam Akers also gets into the end zone with a receiving touchdown. I think it was the third of his NFL career is what the broadcast said. So they go out and do that. Josh Oliver, he gets banged up. He goes 3 for 34. You don't like to see him continue to get more targets than TJ Hawkinson, or at least match his targets, but he's banged up now. So we'll see what happens moving forward with the Minnesota Vikings. But overall, nothing crazy. This was a pretty slow-paced game. There wasn't a lot of points on the board. Gremlin says, how about those Vikings? Jordan Addison clutching it up. But, yeah, you probably didn't see a lot of this game on Red Zone. There wasn't a lot of points going around. It was a boring game. But, hey, a win is a win, so I cannot complain about that. Now, for Tennessee, Will Levis goes 17 for 31, 295, a touchdown and an interception. The touchdown that he threw was like a 98-yard Nick Westbrook-Akine right down the sideline deep ball that went for a long ways. It was the only touchdown of the day for Will Levis. So I think his prop going into the day was like if he could throw 1 touchdown, it cashed. So if you did it, you did it. He won. Whatever, it was what it was. Will Levis goes 7 for 18 rushing. Tony Pollard 9 for 15 rushing. Tajay Spears 3 for 0 in this one. We've been saying that Minnesota Vikings are, or the Minnesota Vikings are vulnerable against wide receiver. They are very stout against the running back position. It looked like that was kind of the case in this one. Akine going 2 for 117 and a touchdown. That was just off the big 98-yard play. Calvin Ridley goes 4 for 58. Not the big game we thought he could have. Tyler Boyd goes 2 for 34. Bryce Oliver 1 for 33. Chigakonkwo, yada, yada, yada. You see there wasn't a lot of offense going around for this Tennessee Titans. So not a great game, not a very exciting game. But, hey, like I said, a win is a win. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-2. Who would have thought, going into the year when sports books and everybody around said that the Minnesota Vikings were going to be the last place team in this division, and it wouldn't even be close because the Bears were back. The pack is back, and the Detroit Lions are as good as they are. Everybody said Minnesota was going to be bad, and hey, who would have thought? Not y'all. We thought. So that is what that is. Now let's move on to the next game here. I want to talk about The Packers and the Bears staying in the NFC North, talking about the Pack and the Bears being back. This was another week where we got a blocked field goal, man. So the Packers, they block a field goal. Apparently, Matt Eberflus said he is going to be filing a dispute with the league. At least that's what I saw this morning. Let me read that because I did see that. Matt Eberflus says that they will be filing a report with the league office about Sunday's game-ending blocked field goal, believing that the Packers were on our long snapper and a penalty should have been called. There was no flag thrown and Green Bay won the game. Anything you can do, Matt, to keep your job, because it does not look good for Matt Eberflus right now. The Bears lose, like I said, 19-20 blocked field goal. So let's talk about these. Players here. Jordan Love, he goes 13 for 17, 261, a touchdown and an interception. Josh Jacobs goes 18 for 76 on the ground with a rushing touchdown. Jordan Love also had a rushing touchdown in this game, and it was basically all Josh Jacobs. There's really nobody else getting work behind him. Emmanuel Wilson, he got 2 carries, but 2 carries is 2 carries. Christian Watson leads the way, 4 for 150. Josh Jacobs goes 4 for 58 in the ground, so big game from Jacobs here in this one. Jaden Reed goes 2 for 23 and a touchdown, saving his day. Romeo Doubs 1 for 17, and then Dontavion Wicks 0 for 0 for 0 for 0. Tucker Kraft, same thing as well. So this one, really, when you're looking at Green Bay, you know, Josh Jacobs, you're happy with what he put out there this week, which is funny because it seemed like this matchup, Chicago's been pretty good against the running back position. They felt like they would maybe be a team where Josh Jacobs wouldn't do as well, and maybe the receivers wouldn't do as well because the secondary has been so good. Now, Jaquan Brisker, he is on IR. Some of the other options that they've had in Chicago are not really available right now. But looking at it, Josh Jacobs, great day. Christian Watson, if you played him, he definitely was a player that gave you some points in your lineup. Same thing with Jaden Reed for falling into the end zone. Everybody else, though, Romeo Doubs, if you played him, not happy. Wicks, obviously, you probably shouldn't have been playing him in the first place, but you're probably not happy. And Jordan Love was a little bit, I guess, hit and miss. Maybe he didn't give you the week that you wanted. But overall, not a bad day for the Packers. Like I said, that blocked field goal is what ended up winning them this one. Now, for the Chicago Bears, the story coming into this one really was that the firing of Shane Waldron, and it was now going to be a new play caller in the building, and how would the offense look like with this new play caller in the building? Caleb Williams, he goes 23 for 31, 231 yards, no touchdown, no interception, so not great for Caleb Williams there. You like to see the completions and the attempts being where they're at. You like to see the yardage being where it's at, but goddamn, Caleb, we got to get into the end zone, bro. We can't be having days where we're not throwing touchdowns. Rushing for the Bears, though, DeAndre Swift, he goes 14 for 71. Excuse me there. DeAndre Swift, 14 for 71. He gets into the end zone. Roschon Johnson getting into the end zone, 10 for 33. Being used quite a lot with this new play caller, so it's going to be interesting to see how that continues to kind of unfold over the back half of the season with DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson kind of splitting touches. Almost 50-50. I mean, 14-10. That's a pretty close split there for the Bears backfield. Now, Rome Odunze led the way again. This is now multiple times since their bye week for the Chicago Bears that Rome Odunze continues to lead this team in targets and continues to lead this team in receiving. I think in dynasty leagues, you really like to see that. You obviously want to see this offense start scoring touchdowns because that's where a lot of our fantasy football points are going to come from. But Rome Odunze leading in targets, leading in yardage, that's what you like to see when you spend those first-round picks on Rome Odunze. And I think going the rest of the year, even in redraft leagues, even in your, whatever format that you play in, Rome Odunze is probably the Chicago Bears wide receiver that I prefer of all of these guys moving forward. Now, DJ Moore, he still had a decent day, 7 receptions for 62 yards. He had 7 targets, so he caught everything that came his way. Cole Kmet goes 3 for 42. Keenan Allen, 4 for 41. DeAndre Swift, 2 for 13. But like we said, there was no touchdowns in this game, so really there wasn't any Bears players receiving wise, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, any of those guys that had like a big day that made you very happy in fantasy football. Everybody had probably an average day, especially DJ Moore and Rome Odunze with those 6 and 7 catches. So I think right now it's still tough to trust Chicago. We called them the Bad News Bears last week. I think it's still kind of the Bad News Bears right now. Getting a field goal in the first quarter, 3 field goals, it's just not I guess not 3 field goals. A missed kick, extra point, and a field goal in the third quarter. It's not great, man. It's not great. So we need to see them continue to step it up. Hopefully they do over the back half of the year. Gremlin says, if people have DJ Moore in their fantasy leagues, drop him like I did. For anybody else that's doing good, Lad McConkey or Juwan Jennings. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the leagues, right? I would say most leagues probably won't have Lad McConkey or Juwan Jennings on the waiver wire, but if you do, I mean, those are options that I think probably right now I do prefer them moving forward over DJ Moore. So there is truth in that statement there, Gremlin. Let's move on to this next game, though. And let's talk about this Jaguars-Lions. And we're going to still talk about the other NFC North team because they put up 52 points in this game against Jacksonville. Look, Jacksonville is looking bad, man. They look bad. Obviously, no Trevor Lawrence in the lineup. Doug Peterson, I am shocked. I am absolutely shocked that I woke up this morning and Doug Peterson still has a job. It's kind of crazy to me that Doug Peterson still has a job. This is a guy who needs to be fired. Jay Cass said Aaron Jones really let me down. Yeah, it was a tough day for Aaron Jones. Really didn't give us the day that we wanted. It feels like it's been a couple weeks that Aaron Jones hasn't given us the day that we wanted. But yeah, Doug Peterson feels like a player or a coach that should be on the hot seat, should probably be getting fired here fairly soon. If not now, I guess at the end of the season. Jacksonville, they need a culture shift, man. And Doug Peterson, he's been a coach in the NFL for a while. It just hasn't been working out for him here in Jacksonville. And we'll see what happens long term. I still think Trevor Lawrence is going to be their quarterback long term. They've paid him to be so. Hopefully they just get a better play caller in here and can utilize a guy like Trevor Lawrence better. Speaking of play callers, it could be Ben Johnson, who's on the other side of this game, putting up 52 points. If Ben Johnson comes in and starts working with Trevor Lawrence, I think we could see a resurgence in Trevor Lawrence. But let's talk about the Lions because they are 9-1 on top of the NFC North, looking like they're going to finish the year most likely on top of the NFC North. They're putting up 52 points. I mean, this is a good-ass roster, man. This is a good-ass roster. Jared Goff goes 24 for 29, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Probably one of the best quarterbacks you could possibly have played here this week. I think he finished as the QB1. CJ says, appreciate you, bro, for the Taysom Hill pickup recommendation. No worries, bro. Appreciate you hanging in there and just picking him up and playing him. So I appreciate you being around. Gremlin says, hold on. 52 points. I didn't even notice. Watch this game because Mad Jags, but 52. Yeah, they put up 52, man. So everybody was getting to eat. David Montgomery, he gets 15 carries for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs also gets 11 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown. Craig Reynolds and Sione Vaki are in the game getting carries. Hendon Hooker's playing some football in this game. Amon-Ra and Jamison Williams are getting rushing attempts. Amon-Ra gets 11 receptions for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jamison Williams goes 4 for 124 and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs 1 for 54 in the air. Khalif Raymond involved. Tim Patrick involved. Shane Zylstra involved. Allen Robinson, involved in this game. Brock Wright catches a touchdown in this game. Everybody is involved for the Detroit Lions. This is just a stomping. It felt like in the third quarter they could have pulled the starters and just let everybody, kind of play out the clock. But they didn't, and they kept going, and yeah, man, this was a whooping by Detroit. It's we've seen them do this now a couple times this year, man, where they get up and they start scoring points and they don't let up. It is that bite your kneecap mentality that Dan Campbell has instilled in this team. Ben Johnson, he shows off once it starts getting to games like this where he can make a bunch of play calls. I think this is legitimately, I kid you not, even without Aiden Hutchinson in the lineup, the Detroit Lions are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I think they are a team that is a very strong contender to come out of the NFC. And, man, Ben Johnson, he's looking more and more like a head coaching candidate that everybody is going to want every single week, especially when you're putting up 52 points on offense in the National Football League. So, great game by the Lions. Really not much to take away from that one just because there really wasn't much competition on the other side of the football. But let's look at... and I realize I skipped over the Jags too. I should probably just go back and we'll talk about the Jags very briefly. Mac Jones, we don't want to play Mac Jones in fantasy football. Travis Etienne, he goes 12 for 27. Everybody in the Sunday Live was like, well, should I play Etienne? Should I play Etienne? And I said, no, I don't really like Etienne this week. And everyone's like, well, there's no Tank Bigsby. This is the offense with Mac Jones. Etienne hasn't looked great this year. The offensive line isn't great. It just hasn't been good. Brian Thomas, he goes 5 for 82. So I guess that's really the only thing that we can talk about offensively. He still had enough yardage and enough receptions that he probably was playable. But other than that, man, there was nobody else. So I shouldn't have skipped over them entirely. There was still Brian Thomas to talk about, Etienne to talk about, but not a great game. Let's go to the Raiders and Dolphins. The Raiders and Dolphins game here. The Dolphins end up winning this one 34-19. The Raiders fall to 2-8. Every time that the Raiders are losing games this year, you have Shadur Sanders tweeting "Thank you, God." So people are starting to think that Shadur Sanders wants to be in Las Vegas. You already had the Mark Davis there was a basketball game or something, and Mark Davis was like, we want to come get you. So we'll see what happens with the Raiders. But Shadur might be the starting quarterback of this team next year, especially if things keep trending this way. Miami puts up 34 points. It's good to have Tua back in the lineup because he's going 28 for 36, 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill's trolling AP on the sideline because AP was saying that he thinks that Tua should retire. And Tua's throwing touchdowns, and Tyreek's doing the shocked face at AP, talking about, oh, you thought he should have retired. Well, look, he's throwing touchdowns on your team. So Devon Achane goes 17 for 73, a touchdown there. Raheem Mostert got banged up in this one. He left this one, so it was Achane pretty much the majority of the way. Jalen Wright got a little bit involved. Jonnu Smith continues to lead this team in receiving for some reason. Johnny's going to be a pickup that I think most people are going to have to target on their waiver wire this week. We have a couple bye weeks as well here in week 12. Off the top of my head, you got Buffalo, Kyle Pitts and the Falcons, a couple other teams. But Jonnu Smith, he's a guy that I think should be picked up at this point. He's being utilized in this lineup. And Tyreek Hill, kind of a little bit of a bounce-back game. Found the end zone, 7 for 61 and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle goes 2 for 37. He continues his stinker performances back to back to back. But Jonnu Smith is really like the number one receiver in this offense as of the last couple of weeks. And although I don't necessarily expect that to continue long-term, it is a guy that we're probably going to be picking up on our waiver wire, especially because of how scarce the tight end position is. Hey, what's up, Andrew? How you doing, man? I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you being here, Kanji. Hopefully everything is good with you, and hopefully you win your Week 11, man. Let's go over to the Raiders side of the ball. Like I said, they lose this game, fall to 2-8. Gardner Minshew throws the football 43 times, completes 30 of those, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception in this one with a 50 QBR. Now, receiving, there wasn't a lot going on for the Raiders. I meant rushing. There wasn't a lot going on for the Raiders. Alexander Mattison goes 5 for 19. Zamir White goes 5 for 9. Jacoby Myers is their leading rusher with 1 carry. It's just there wasn't a lot in the ground game for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, receiving-wise, he had Brock Bowers go 13 for 126 and a touchdown on 16 targets. When I tell you that Brock Bowers, the generational tag that he got coming into the year, everybody in Dynasty was like, Brock Bowers is a generational tight end. And a lot of people were like, let's be careful with the word. Brock Bowers has, to this point, looked the part. I was looking at something today. He's having the best rookie tight end, or on track to have the best rookie tight end season of all time. And he's like number 4 in Rookie of the Year rankings. And that just speaks to how good this rookie class is, with Jaden Daniels doing what he's doing. Bo Nix doing what he's doing, some of these other guys doing what they're doing. So it's pretty crazy. But Brock Bowers, he's a set it and forget it type of tight end, pretty much, I would say probably for the most of his career, but at least the rest of this year, I think we're just going to see the Brock Bowers show. Everybody else, Jacoby Myers goes 4 for 28, Amir Abdullah 3 for 16. There's just not really anybody in Las Vegas right now, and I don't think that there's going to be anybody in Las Vegas the rest of the way. I know some people like Jacoby Myers. I don't think that there's many players in Las Vegas you want to start or feel comfortable in starting really most of the way, other than Brock Bowers. It feels like Brock Bowers are nobody, for me at least, with the Las Vegas Raiders right now. Gremlin says, dropping my secondary QB Russell Wilson for Tua Tagovailoa. He's on the waiver wire. I don't mind that. Josh Allen on bye next week for those who have him. Yep. And then Kanji says, yes, sir, brother. Lions stack went off, so we're up 75 points headed into tonight. Nice, dude. I have about a 21-point lead right now going into tonight. I have Joe Mixon. My opponent has C.J. Stroud and Rico Dowdle. So it's going to be a sweaty one, a sweaty Monday night. We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping I can pull out that win. Let's move on to the next game here. We'll go to the Rams-Patriots. This one, you had a day from both of the Rams wide receivers, 28-22. The New England Patriots, led by Drake May, fall to 3-8. The Los Angeles Rams are now 5-5 at 500. Let's talk about the Rams, man. Matthew Stafford, 18 for 27, 295, and 4 passing touchdowns. Hell of a day for Matthew Stafford there. Kyren Williams goes 15 for 86, still seeing a lot of the workload on the ground. Didn't get into the end zone in this one, so you didn't get the big day from Kyren Williams because the touchdown didn't happen. But everything that we're seeing, people are saying, you know, there's a dip in Kyren Williams. How do you feel about the dip in Kyren Williams? I don't think that there's a dip in Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is still being utilized. This is a good run defense. I'm not worried about Kyren at all moving forward. Now, receiving-wise, Puka Nacua goes 7 for 123, had a hell of a touchdown. You look at, there was a picture of him laying out. Beautiful, beautiful touchdown catch from Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp goes 6 for 106 and 2 touchdowns, and then Colby Parkinson finds the end zone on his only catch. But this is really, for me, the Los Angeles Rams, the Puka Nacua and the Cooper Kupp show. Everybody else, Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, Colby Parkinson, they might catch 1 football, 2 footballs a game. It is Puka, Cooper, Kyren Williams run, Puka, Cooper. That is the offense, man. They are going crazy with these 3 guys. Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, these are all league-winning type of assets, I think, in the back half of the year, and all of them are past their bye. They should have some good matchups. The Rams are still playing in a division that's a little bit tight. They're trying to get some wins. It should be competitive for those Rams options moving forward. Now, Drake May, help is potentially on the way next year. Hopefully we can see Tetaroa McMillan hop into this offense next year. I would like to see, you know, Drake May get a big wide receiver out there with him. That would be a great draft pick for them. But in the meantime, Drake May's going 30 for 40, 282, 2 touchdowns and interception. He's also running the football 3 for 27 in this one. Ramondre Stevenson getting 20 carries for 73 yards. And then on the receiving side of the ball, Kendrick Bourne 5 for 70 and a touchdown. Hunter Henry 6 for 63. Demario Douglas 5 for 59. Austin Hooper 4 for 35. Keishon Butte 4 for 33. Ramondre Stevenson 4 for 16. Vidarian Lowe, the offensive lineman, getting in on the touchdown. Why am I spacing his name? Scott Hansen said a thick 6 is what you called it. So, yeah, we got that. Drake May's spreading the football around. He's a damn good quarterback, man. A damn good quarterback. And they just need to get him some better options. Tetaroa McMillan, like I said, Tetaroa McMillan would be beautiful here in New England. A couple questions here. Whom would be a great wide receiver pickup for next week? Haven't really dove into my waiver wire rankings yet. That comes out tomorrow morning. But one guy that I picked up in a league last week, just for this week specifically, is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is going to be activated off of IR with Deontay Johnson gone. Potentially Adam Thielen finds himself in a pretty decent PPR role. He's a guy that I'm looking at, but that waiver wire video is coming out here later this week, so we can you can expect that. That's tomorrow morning. That'll be out. So there'll definitely be tons of pickups on that one. Kanji says, any thoughts on what to do with injured guys in Dynasty right now? I'm a strong contender with Christian Kirk and Ayuk on IR. Should I be moving them ahead of the deadline? I think so. I did a move in one of my leagues where I traded Brandon Ayuk on a contending roster in a rebuild. In a rebuild, I was buying Christian Kirk and Ayuk and stuff like that. So I think if you are a super strong contender, like you said, and you're trying to get some play, I don't mind moving off of guys like Ayuk or Christian Kirk right now. Like, I'd be trying to target guys like George Pickens maybe for Ayuk. I'd be trying to target guys like, really, I mean, you're trying to get points, so you know who to go after. But I maybe try and keep it a little bit younger, maybe not go fully in on the old guys, just to save you a little bit. Cap for Life says, hey, bro, AR5 or Darnold moving forward? It's tough, man. I think I'm still going to stick with Darnold moving forward, but Anthony Richardson looked a lot better this week. We'll talk about him for sure. He might actually be the next game. Let's move on to the next one. He's not. It's one more game, and then we'll talk about Anthony Richardson. We get to talk about Taysom Hill right now, though, because the Browns and the Saints put up 35 points. They moved to 4-7, and then the Cleveland Browns, they're 2-8 now. But holy hell, we said on the waiver wire episode last week, if you need tight end, pick up Taysom Hill and play Taysom Hill. I didn't expect this. I don't think many people expected this, but let's talk about it. Derek Carr goes 21 for 27, 248, and 2 touchdowns. Now, everything else felt like Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, he threw a pass for 18 yards. It was intercepted, but he threw a pass. Now, Taysom Hill, he also ran the football 7 times for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara got 16 carries for 67 yards. Taysom Hill also, receiving-wise, caught 8 passes for 50 yards. MVS went 2 for 87 and a touchdown. Foster Moreau, 3 for 50. And then Juwan Johnson, 3 for 30 and a touchdown. Alvin Kamara, 4 for 22. But Taysom Hill, 3 rushing touchdowns, 138 rushing yards, 8 catches for 50 receiving yards. My God, Taysom Hill. If you plugged him in your tight end position, he had in our league, we have a little bit of a tight end premium. I think he scored 46. In normal PPR leagues, I think he was around 40 points. So you got 40 points out of Taysom Hill. If you played against him, it's hard to overcome that. I played against him in that league. I'm up by 20. I don't know how I'm up by 20. Crazy day. But if you had him on your team, you're likely feeling pretty going into Monday Night Football. Cap for Life said Jono came through. Damn straight. But Taysom Hill, man, it's crazy. Saints have no one. It's a good pickup if needed. So, yeah, Taysom Hill, man, he's a guy that I think he's still going to have usage going forward the rest of the way. And I was asking, or we were talking in the Discord, somebody said, would you rather have Dalton Kincaid or Taysom Hill moving forward the rest of the season? Who would you rather play? I think the answer is Taysom Hill. You'd rather play Taysom Hill the rest of the way. Somebody said Mark Andrews or Taysom Hill. A couple of these other options. I think the answer for the most part is Taysom Hill. It's crazy, man. He's going to give you these weeks where he scores 3 points or 4 points, but then he's going to give you these weeks, and these weeks win you your weeks. So it's kind of crazy, man. Skeeter said, is there any worry about the Bengals benching Jamar Chase since they are almost out of playoff contention? I'm not worried about it yet, but I don't feel like they're going to bench anybody. But maybe he's wanting a contract. I'm not nervous about him yet. I will say that. JCat says, what are your thoughts on Devontae Smith? I still love Devonta Smith, man. I think he's a good player. I still like him the rest of the way, too. I think just a wide receiver, too, the rest of the way. Safe wide receiver, too. Cleveland, Jameis Winston goes 30 for 46, 395 and 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb goes 11 for 50. Jerome Ford, 5 for 10 being worked in again. Jerry Jeudy had himself a day. 6 for 142 and a touchdown. David Njoku goes 9 for 81. Elijah Moore, 6 for 66 and a touchdown. Cedric Tillman had himself a day that was not what we wanted. Everybody very excited about Cedric Tillman. Most people were saying, you got to start Cedric Tillman. I also had Cedric Tillman as a top 24 wide receiver this week. 3 for 47, didn't finish that way. He still had 8 targets, but Jerry Jeudy kind of just had the day, especially with that 89-yard touchdown. So overall, you know, what can you do about it? They still threw the football a lot. Jameis Winston played some all right football, and that's how that one played out. Cap for Life says, I have Smith. I'm thinking of packing Smith and AR5 or Darnold for a true wide receiver 1. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that at all. Cap for Life says, I have Dell and Smith. Yeah, I don't mind it. I'd rather sell Dell and AR together to go get something and keep Smith, but I don't mind it either way. Skeeter says, would you try and trade Chase or just risk since he's obviously the number 1 receiver? I'm also 10-1 team now. He might be the number 1 receiver. I don't know if I would say he's obviously the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. I think you have arguments with Amon-Ra and Justin Jefferson right now. But if you can get one of those other guys, an A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown plus, Amon-Ra plus, Justin Jefferson plus maybe, because if people feel like he's obviously the number one, you might be able to get a plus thrown in. I'm not opposed to doing that. Especially because when you look at Jamar Chase's playoff schedule too, even if he's playing throughout the rest of the year, when he gets to the playoffs, weeks 15, 16, 17, he has some tougher matchups as well. So it's not the prettiest playoff schedule. Let's move on to the next game. We said we were going to talk about Anthony Richardson. We do have that one here on tap. Anthony Richardson, you thought it was over. It's not. The Colts win 28-27. Aaron Rodgers now has a worse win percentage as the Jets starting quarterback than Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold. So the Aaron Rodgers experience in New York has been worse than the Zach Wilson experience and the Sam Darnold experience. This is not Aaron Rodgers of old, folks. Sorry to tell you. Anthony Richardson, though, leads a game-winning drive, 20 for 30, 272 and a touchdown. You love to see this, 10 rushing attempts, because you want him to utilize those strengths. 10 for 32, 2 rushing touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, 24 carries for 57 yards. Not a great day, but a ton of usage. Receiving-wise, Josh Downs still shows up, 5 for 84 and a touchdown. Alec Pierce gets a big play. It was like a 40-yard catch, 3 for 74. Pittman, 5 for 46. Adonai Mitchell in the mix. Those big, deep balls coming down the way. But Anthony Richardson, he showed up, and if you played him, you're happy that you played him. You probably weren't confident playing him going into the week, and it turned out fine. I want to see him keep running the football. This is a bad football team that he played against. Whether or not you believe that they're a bad football team, this is a bad football team that he played against. I think it is now very evident that the New York Jets are just not a good football team. And I think that Aaron Rodgers, he says he wants to come back next year. I'd be honest, Aaron Rodgers probably should just retire, bro. Rodgers goes 22 for 29, 184 and 2 touchdowns. Breece Hall, 16 for 78 and a touchdown. Big day from Breece Hall in this one. He also had 7 catches for 43 yards and a receiving touchdown. So he's really the only guy on the Jets offense that you were super happy that you played. Devontae Adams goes 6 for 72. Garrett Wilson, 4 for 18. Everybody else, whatever. The only receiving touchdown from anybody not named Breece Hall was by Kenny Yeboah, and nobody played Kenny Yeboah. So not a great day from the Jets, but Anthony Richardson leads a game-winning drive. Caleb's in the chat. He says Anthony Richardson buy window is closed, and it feels like that window was very short. I made a video on the channel with War, our Let's Talk Dynasty video, this last weekend, and I said Anthony Richardson is a buy. He is a buy for me in Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues. We showed a bunch of the value adjacent players at the quarterback position and at the overall player position. He was a buy to me, and is the buy window closed? Potentially. I think you're going to have a mix of guys right now where you're going to have the people who are nervous about Anthony Richardson. He had a good game, and now they're going to try and sell out. So there are going to be people still trying to sell Anthony Richardson. You're going to have those big Anthony Richardson fans that held, and now they're like, see, this is what I wanted. He's not available. But those guys weren't selling anyway. So I think there's still a buy window here, Caleb. It just may not be as cheap as it was, 3 days ago, 4 days ago. MK says, can't believe Jennings is the better wide receiver on the 49ers over Debo. Debo has been frustrating, to say the least. I can't express that enough. Debo has been so frustrating over the last couple of weeks. Looking at this next game, we have Ravens-Steelers. The Steelers shocked the world. I don't know if they shocked the world. That's probably an overstatement there. But they beat the Ravens 18-16. The Ravens now second place there to the Steelers, who are now 8-2. I think the Steelers team is legit, man. Now, they didn't score a touchdown on offense. It was a field goal fest. So if you started Russell Wilson like me, you're not happy with what you got. That was a bad day from Russell Wilson, but they still got a win. So, hey, what can you say? 23 for 36, 205, no touchdowns, an interception there. Najee Harris goes 18 for 63 with Jalen Warren going 9 for 41. Justin Fields coming in on a couple plays here in this one where he's running the football. George Pickens had a decent day, 8 for 89. Like I said, there's no touchdowns here, so it is what it is. Speaking of no touchdowns, Darnell Washington had an opportunity at a touchdown here. His big ass could have jumped up and grabbed that football that came his way, but I think he thought it was going to somebody behind him. Russell Wilson just threw it high, and he just turned around and watched it go, and it ended up being the interception for Russell Wilson. But Darnell Washington could have went up and got that because he is not a small target. He could have went up and got it, but whatever, bro. Mistake, I think, on Darnell Washington's part, maybe a little bit overthrown by Russell Wilson, but he could have went up and got that touchdown. Najee goes 4 for 30, Jaylen Warren 4 for 27, Pat Freiermuth 2 for 14. Really, anybody outside of George Pickens, you just didn't want to play in this one. Najee had a decent day, but George Pickens had the day that we wanted. Griffin says, what are we paying if he was dropped? And I think that's in reference to Richardson. He said, I have Lamar and a bye coming. I would be willing to pay. I mean, it's going to depend on the waiver wire in your league. If you have Lamar, I'm not really paying anything for a backup quarterback. I probably am just going to pick up a guy that I can stream for 1 week. So if you have other options, I'm not paying a lot, quite honestly. So we'll see what the other options are in your waiver wire. He says, I also got duped by both Jake Paul and Sean Payton. Great weekend to be lied to. It's got to be in reference to the Audric Estime as well. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson goes 16 for 33, a touchdown and interception in this one. Henry goes 13 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. Lamar 4 for 46 on the ground. Isaiah Likely leads the way, 4 for 75. Zay Flowers 2 for 39 and a touchdown. Rashad Bateman 2 for 30. Justice Hill 4 for 28. Mark Andrews 2 for 22. Like I said, man, this was a low-scoring game. There's a lot of field goals. It was pretty ugly. This is that AFC, ugly divisional matchup where the defense plays the defense, and it is what it is. This is what that was. You probably aren't happy with pretty much anybody in these games. If you played Zay Flowers, decent day because he found the end zone. George Pickens, Najee Harris, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. I think these are the pieces that probably are okay, but everybody else, it is what it is, man. Let's move on to this next game. We'll go to the Falcons Broncos because we got 4 more games left here on the schedule to talk about. What about Bo, man? Yeah, Bo. 38-6. The Denver Broncos now move on to 6-5. The Atlanta Falcons are 6-5. Kirk Cousins goes 18 for 27. Actually, why am I talking about the losing team first? We got to talk about the winners. Bo Nix, 28 for 33, 307, 4 touchdowns. Like I said, yeah, Bo. You love to see that kind of performance from Bo Nix. He's looking damn good, man. Really damn good. And he looks like a guy who might potentially be, dare I say, one of the best waiver wire pickups of the year at the quarterback position. Javonte Williams goes 9 for 59. He gets a touchdown. Jaleel McLaughlin 4 for 19. And this is after we all watched Audric Estime carry the workload last week. And then it seemed like Audric Estime was going to get more touches and maybe be the guy in the backfield. Yeah, nah. Sean Payton said, hey, Javonte Williams, let's just give him some more touches. Let's give Jaleel McLaughlin some more touches. This is a mess. I'll be honest, Audric Estime is droppable again. Number 1 pickup last week, probably droppable going into this week. It's just the way it is. It's the way that it worked out. It is what it is, man. Cortland Sutton goes 7 for 78. Devon Vele 4 for 66. Lil Jordan Humphrey 4 for 52 and a touchdown. Marvin Mims gets a touchdown. Javonte Williams, like I said, he got the rushing touchdown, but still got 4 for 28 in the air. Troy Franklin gets a touchdown. Nate Adkins gets a touchdown. You're not playing Lil Jordan Humphrey. You're not playing Marvin Mims. You're not playing Troy Franklin. You're not playing Nate Adkins. So it doesn't really matter who caught the receiving touchdowns if it wasn't Cortland Sutton. But everybody else, man, Bo Nix got it going on here against the Atlanta Falcons, man. It was kind of crazy. I started Bo Nix in the league, and I love what I got. Like I said, probably one of the better waiver wire pickers of the year, the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins, 18 for 27, 173, no touchdown, an interception. Michael Penix gets a little bit of playing time in this one. Atlanta sees Bijan Robinson go 12 for 35, not great. Drake London, 3 for 61. He had the Pat Surtain shadow coverage. Darnell Mooney gets banged up in this one, so Ray McLeod goes 6 for 46. Bijan 4 for 28. Kadero Hodge in here, 2 for 22. Kyle Pitts, where you going? Where you at, Kyle Pitts? 1 for 9. If no Darnell Mooney on the football field and we're not even getting Kyle Pitts worked in, this was bad, man. Very bad from the Atlanta Falcons. Disaster class type of performance from Kirk Cousins in this one. Just not great, man. Bo Nix and Sean Payton walked in to this one, stomped out the Atlanta Falcons, and that's just the way it went. Griffin puts the crying face probably because Audric is now droppable. But let's move on to the next one. We're going to go to the Seahawks and the 49ers. No George Kittle in this game. He was really the only big name that was going to be out coming into the week that we had early on in the day that we got that information about. The Niners could have used him because they end up losing this one 20-17. The Seahawks go on to win. Let's talk about the Seahawks first. Geno goes 25 for 32, 221, no touchdowns, an interception. Kenneth Walker goes 14 for 54 and a touchdown, and Geno Smith gets a rushing touchdown at the end of the game to win this game, 4 for 29. No time left on the clock. JSN, he got a rushing attempt, but I want to talk more so about the receiving because he goes 10 for 110. A lot of these targets and a lot of these receptions came on that last drive. It felt like every play Geno was going to JSN, just under a shallow route, hitting JSN against the sideline, things like that. So the day looks great. It worked out great. It wasn't this good until about the last drive or so. So there was some, let's not call it garbage time because they were trying to win the game, but there was a lot of last-second points that you got from JSN. I remember I'm playing against JSN and your idiot league mates, and he went from like 13 points to 22 points or something like that on the last drive of the game. So he got a majority of his production there on that last drive. Now DK goes 7 for 70, first game back. Not a great day, not a bad day, whatever. It is what it is. Lockett's pretty much been completely supplanted now by JSN. JSN is the number 2. Really, outside of that, there's nothing else really super important. Again, another kind of divisional game that's a grind, a slow, low-scoring type of game, but they end up getting it done. Now, Brock Purdy goes 21 for 28, 159, a touchdown and interception. CMC goes 19 for 79, doesn't get in on the ground, but Brock Purdy gets in on the ground. He had a rushing touchdown where he dove for the pylon. Deebo Samuel doing the gimmicky shit, goes for a -1 rushing yard. Juwan Jennings, 10 for 91, the number 1 target again, double-digit targets again. Juwan Jennings is the number 1 wide receiver in this offense, folks. I hate to tell you that, but Juwan Jennings is the number 1 guy. It sucks for Deebo Samuel because Deebo Samuel has been non-existent over the last couple of weeks. 4 for 22, and 2 of those catches came on the very last drive with like 12 seconds left in the game. It was literally 2 catches from Deebo where he went from like a 4-point game to like a 6-point game, or a 3-point game to a 6-point game. It's bad for Deebo Samuel right now, and I have to wonder, and maybe this is me making excuses for Deebo Samuel, but he had pneumonia. He was a little bit banged up. I have to wonder if that's lingering or if there's something still going on here because he doesn't look really good at all. And Ricky Pearsall, a guy who was exciting last week, he comes out here and gives us a dud. 0 for 0 on 2 targets. It wasn't great. Like I said, the Niners, they look like they could have used George Kittle in this matchup because George Kittle does seem like he has some big games against the Seahawks. But if it wasn't Juwan Jennings, it wasn't Christian McCaffrey, that was pretty much it, man. That's pretty much it. Griffin says, I added Estime and Gus, dropping Ray Davis and Tank Bigsby. That Gus has a good playoff schedule if JK fades and Jags are cursed, injury bye, bad game scripts to come. Feels like a mistake. I mean, I added Estime and Gus last week as well. I mean, you probably watched the waiver wire episode. That was those were 2 of the guys that we talked about. Dropping Ray Davis is you probably want that one back. You probably want to drop Estime for Ray Davis this week if you can get it back. I still like Gus. I like Gus moving forward. I'd still prefer Gus over Tank Bigsby. So if that feels like a mistake, probably not. The only one you want back is the Estime for Ray Davis. And I think what I did is I dropped Tyler Algier for Estime. So I'm probably going to try and go get Tyler Algier right back. But that's it. Let's move on to the next game here. We got a new MVP frontrunner in the building, Josh Allen, knocking down the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time this year. The Bills win 30-21. Kansas City handed their first loss. They are now 9-1. The Buffalo Bills are 9-2. The Bills are also 5-0 at home, undefeated. Josh Allen, 27 for 40, 262, a touchdown and an interception. He goes 12 for 55 and a touchdown on the ground. That rushing touchdown was the one that sealed the deal and won the game for him on 4th down. James Cook, the matchup for James Cook was horrible. The Kansas City Chiefs are so good against the running back position. So you see 9 for 20. That is what I expected. That is a bad day. He gets 2 touchdowns on the ground, saving the day. So James Cook, if you played him, horrible matchup, horrible play, but he got into the end zone. So, hey, it saved the day. Khalil Shakir goes 8 for 70, still leading the way with Amari Cooper on the field. I think Khalil Shakir is the number 1 wide receiver for this team. People are going to say Khalil Shakir is not the number 1. Finally, you even heard Tony Romo saying it in the game. The Bills finally got a number 1 wide receiver in Amari Cooper. He may be the number 1 technically by default when you put him on the depth chart, but I think Khalil Shakir is really the best wide receiver on this team right now. He looks like he has really good rapport with Josh Allen. 8 for 70, 12 targets. Curtis Samuel gets involved. He gets a touchdown in this one. Amari Cooper, 2 for 55. Dawson Knox, 4 for 40. That isn't the Dawson Knox game we wanted if you were plugging him in as a streaming option with Kincaid out. But the Bills, Josh Allen, like I said, he's probably the MVP front runner moving forward. This is a guy that I think can win the MVP, man. I'm rooting for the Bills. They're like, I'm going to be totally honest here, guys. The Bills are like my secondary team if I was not a Minnesota Vikings fan, which I am a huge Minnesota Vikings fan. But if I was not, Josh Allen is my favorite player in the league, and I would probably be rooting for the Bills. So they're a secondary team that I'm rooting for right now. Would love to see a Bills Vikings Super Bowl. That's probably way far-fetched, but would love to see that. Let's talk about some of these comments that are in here before we go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Griffin says, I held Algier as his playoff schedule is amazing. Yeah, his is good. You just want to hold those handcuffs, but I wanted immediate play because I had somebody on bye. I needed to plug somebody in. I started Estime. It wasn't great. Austin said, I had Bijan, KW3, Hunt, Jefferson, and McLaurin this week. Literally scored 80 points this week and somehow still won. Damn. Good shit, though. Also traded Hunt and McLaurin for James Cook, Garrett Wilson, and Pacheco. Love Shakir. He's underrated. Agree with all of that, man. But let's talk about the Chiefs. Pacheco should be back next week is what they said. Patrick Mahomes, he goes 23 for 33, 196, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kareem Hunt goes 14 for 60. Unfortunately, that is probably the last bell cow week out of Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt now probably goes from a guy that you were comfortable playing as a low-end RB1, maybe a high-end RB2. Now he's more so a flex play for me moving forward, I think, with Pacheco back in the lineup, assuming that is confirmed here later this week. Xavier Worthy, he goes 4 for 61 and a touchdown. He felt like he had a couple other plays in here, but his ass can't stay in bounds. DeAndre Hopkins, 3 for 29. We talked about that being a tough matchup. Some people said I was too low on him this week, ranking him as a wide receiver 3 in my rankings, but this is a tough matchup, man. The Bills play good defense against wide receivers, and it showed. Everybody else, kind of a bad day, even Kelsey, 2 for 8. This was just, again, another grimy game where the defenses kind of put it together. Josh Allen played hero ball at the end, and Josh Allen got that W. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they cannot be a perfect, the perfect season does not exist anymore. It is donezo. So Josh Allen, new front runner for MVP in my opinion. Let's talk about the final game of the night. Bengals Chargers. This one was another pretty exciting game. Went all the way down to the last second. The Chargers win 34-27. They are now 7-3. The Bengals are 4-7. I think going into the year, most people would have felt like these records would have been swapped. I don't think many people would have felt like the Bengals were 4-7. I feel like most people probably felt like they would end up 7-3. And I think most people felt like the Chargers were not going to be a 7-3 team. They probably were more towards a 4-7 roster. But hey, who's got it better than us? Nobody, says Jim Harbaugh. Justin Herbert goes 17 for 36, 297, 2 touchdowns. Also on the ground, 5 for 65, running the ball a little bit. J.K. Dobbins, 11 for 56 and 2 touchdowns, scoring a game-winning touchdown there at the very end. Tony Romo it wasn't Tony Romo. One of the commentators was saying, go down, go down, go down. All fantasy football manager says, no. J.K. Dobbins gets into the end zone like a rocket ship, jumping over the pylon. Love to see that. He probably could have went down. They would have won the game. But, hey, He scored the touchdown. We got the second one of the day and got those points. Gus Edwards still involved, 6 for 27. I think he is the complementary piece to JK right now, but if JK wears down, JK gets injured, Gus Edwards obviously looks like the eventual guy who would take over that role. Lad McConkey's looking damn good, man. 6 for 123. Doesn't find the end zone, but he got 9 targets. He looks like a guy that I think we can plug and play as a wide receiver 2 every week moving forward. Will Dissly goes 4 for 80 and a touchdown. QJ 2 for 48 and a touchdown. And then everybody else involved fine as well. So love everything we saw out of Lad McConkey, Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins. It was a good game. The defense stepped up. This is a tough offense to go against when you got Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow on the other side of the field. But the Chargers, they look good, man. Let's move on to the Bengals. Joe Burrow goes 28 for 50. 50 attempts is not great. You don't want to see that most weeks out of your quarterback. But that's kind of been the Joe Burrow experience this year. 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he played some good ball. Chase Brown goes 22 for 86. Also, Chase Brown added 5 for 57 in the air. Like we said, he's kind of a guy that I think we can view as a high-end RB2, low-end RB1 moving forward, just based off of the usage that he's getting. T. Higgins goes 9 for 148 in his first game back and a touchdown. This is kind of what's happened, folks, and it's kind of weird, but go back and look. I promise you, go back and look. When T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are on the football field together, it's almost like every time T. Higgins is getting more targets, he's getting more receptions, he's getting more yardage. It feels like T. Higgins outscores Jamar Chase every time they're on the football field together. But then, when T. Higgins is injured, which he got banged up in this one as well, Jamar Chase goes nuclear. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. If T. Higgins is back in the lineup the rest of the year, which we assume he's probably going to be, Jamar Chase probably gets a little bit of a dip off of the production that we've seen lately, but it makes me think for Dynasty, you know, if Jamar Chase has a little bit of a dip, which you're probably never going to have a dip in value on Jamar Chase, but if he has a dip in production over the back half of the year and the Cincinnati Bengals move on from T. Higgins in the offseason, we could have next year with no T. Higgins at all, and that would be a Jamar Chase show. So it's just interesting to look. It feels like when T. Higgins is on the football field, Jamar Chase does not get the usage, or just does not get the production that he does with Higgins off the field. And that probably feels very obvious, but I think most people would still assume that he's the number one guy in production. But really, you have him, you know, T. Higgins 148 yards to Jamar Chase's 75. Now, everybody else, you know, Chase Brown, like we said, he got it done in the air. Yoshavas getting some in the air. Made a pretty tough catch there at the end. But overall, you know, that's kind of what we got. The Bengals, you're still going to have those guys, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Chase Brown. We're playing all of them. Somebody in the comments expressed, is there concern about them benching anybody going into the back half of the year if they keep losing some football games? Maybe. Right now, I'm still not too worried about it. Austin says, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor? I still love Jonathan Taylor, man. He's getting the usage. We need to see him get into the end zone a little bit more often, but the usage is still heavy for Jonathan Taylor. So he's kind of a guy that I think is more so towards that low-end RB1 until we start seeing him finding some more touchdowns. But he is definitely a guy that I'm still comfortable with because of the usage his way. Brad says, I still won by 30 this week, but Taysom on my bench with 41 just doesn't feel right. Tough, but you still love to see it. Let's go talk about the Monday Night Football game because we still have a football game tonight, like I said. The Texans and the Cowboys is on the docket. Should be a decent one, maybe. The Cowboys are probably going to get stomped. It is in Arlington, so we'll see what happens. Cooper Rush under center. Hopefully, C.J. Stroud has a very mediocre day. I'm playing C.J. Stroud in a league that I care a lot about, so hopefully, you know, C.J. Stroud has a mediocre day and Joe Mixon gets into the end zone. Did want to tell you guys, because with that game, Underdog is still offering a promo tonight. So if you want to win some money potentially over on Underdog, you've never played on Underdog, this is for new customers. If CJ Stroud goes for 1 yard, 1 total yard, this part of your pick'em cashes. So I strongly suggest taking advantage of this offer tonight to give you something to root for. You only get that by using code LeagueFFB. They also give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you use our code. So that'll be some free money for you from Underdog, gift from us. Over to make sure that you get some money to get started on your pick'em entry. Now, if you're looking for things to pair with the CJ Stroud to increase that winnings potential even higher, I like the over or the higher on the receiving yardage for Rico Dowdle, and I like the higher on the receiving yardage for Nico Collins. So I would pair those two with this freebie promo over there with CJ Stroud, and that would be what I would be doing on Underdog tonight if you've never done it. So strongly encourage you to go do that. It does support the show, so I appreciate you guys doing that if you've never done that. Need Nico to not get 21 to win. Okay, well, I said I like the over on the receiving yardage, so maybe that's not good news to you. Brad says, wouldn't it be crazy to start Tracy over JT next week? Tracy plays the Bucks, JT has the Lions. I don't think that's really crazy. We'll see what happens when my rankings come out later this week, but I don't think it's crazy talk right away. So we'll see what happens there. But that is it, folks. I have nothing else for you today. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate you hanging out with me. The waiver wire video is coming out tomorrow morning, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. Because last week we told you to pick up Taysom Hill. And if you picked up Taysom Hill and you played Taysom Hill, you're pretty happy, I think, this week. So let's see if we can find some gems on this week's waiver wire episode. Like I said, that's coming out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that one. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, go join the free Discord. The free Discord is where you can hang out with me and a bunch of these people in the League FFB community. We're calling them your league mates. So if you want to go hang out with some league mates, go join that Discord. Free to join, no risk in doing that. With all that out of the way, I have nothing else for you today. I'll see you on our next episode. Until then, peace out.